6:30, call the meeting to order. Certified compliance with the open records law.
You bet.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hooker.
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Here.
Councilmember Menke. Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Here.
Councilmember Weisapple.
Here.
5 present, 1 absent.
Next up, pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
We have a motion and a second. You got that, Matt?
Bijo and Travis?
Yeah. To adopt the agenda, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The agenda is adopted. Now make it that Councilmember Menke is.
You bet.
So we got that. Public comments, is there anybody that would like to make any public comments? This is your opportunity. If it's an agenda item or something off the agenda is all right, just identify yourself for the record. Hearing none, no scheduled appearances this evening. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. The following matters may be acted upon by the City Council utilizing a single vote. Individual items which any member wishes to address in greater detail or as a separate item on the regular agenda may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any council member. We have the minutes from the regular City Council meeting from August 14th, 2024, and a picnic license for St. Mary's Fall Festival on September 8th, 2024. Would somebody like to make a motion concerning the consent agenda?
Make a motion we approve the consent agenda. Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's approved. Next we move on to the business agenda, mayor's report. Just a few things to talk about. First of all, I want to congratulate DIG for a wonderful music in the park and all the other organizations, the sheriff's department, the county, everybody who put together the fundraiser for the Humane Society, Stuff the Squad. I think they did quite well. All the community members who helped volunteer, all the ones that it was Taste of Durand. I wish I only hit 3 of the eating places. A little something here, a little something there. I wish I could have got to a couple more, but obviously it was very good, and obviously the people that were there really enjoyed the white sidewalls. They always put on a good show, and so again, it was a nice crowd, nice event, raised some money and so on. And again, so congratulations to everybody as far as that. It was a wonderful evening. Just want to mention that some of us from the council and staff did meet with some folks from the school board just to have an informal get-together back a little over a week ago. Thought it was a nice meeting. There was no agenda. It was just sort of to get to know each other type of thing, talk about the future a little bit. We'll be looking forward to probably doing one of those again sometime. And this time around, we'll do the invited, since they invited us this time, maybe 6 months from now, 9 months from now, or something like that we will do that. I'd like to wish everybody a great school year coming up. School starts here in Durand tomorrow. I know, but hopefully everybody has a safe year, has a good year, and it's successful for everybody. I'd also like to wish everybody. One other thing too. We met again with the swim club on Monday evening. We're continuing to work on what we call the major donor walls, the honor walls, and so on and so forth. And we're working back and forth. We'll be meeting again in about a month, and it's all coming together. I'm drawing things up. I'm drawing up stuff. Well, we're gonna have somebody professionally put that together, how exactly it's gonna look. Already working on a number of those things, but again, just want to say we're continually working with the swim club to get those folks honored for the new swimming pool. I'd like to wish everybody, of course, a safe and happy Labor Day weekend coming up. And finally, I would like to officially give a happy birthday to Councilmember Travis Hooker today. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, Councilmember. What?
Are we singing?
No, not singing, not necessary, not necessarily a singing part, but I make sure she happy birthday.
He's gonna run away if I start singing.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, as we know, Administrator Carlson and Clerk Angie Morgan are at the Clerks Conference starting today through Friday, so that's why they're not here this evening. I think most of the things that the Administrator went over with Matt on that, or included memos within your packet, so hopefully we'll have on that. So no administrator's report tonight. Next, we have discussion possible action regarding the purchase of replacement copier for City Hall from E.O. Johnson in the amount of $3,895. You'll notice in your packet, there's the bid was included, and also the administrator put together the rationale behind it and how exactly we are going to we would pay for the replacement. The funny thing about it is when they mentioned about replacing it, one of the things in my mind was, didn't we just do this? And of course, looking back, that that here it was 7 years ago was the last time that we did this. But again, the new one, and again, we always like spreading that out over the budgets of each one of the departments because everybody uses it. So that's sort of that cost centering thing. You want to make sure that that each one of the budgets is how it would be. Obviously, it's included that we would have the. I see that there is of course, a service contract to make sure. And then I see part of the recommendation is that the old one go up to the police department. I don't know, Chief, if you want to sort of explain, I know about your need for the, and again, as we said, it's, and I'm assuming there's no value to this one here really to try to trade it or something like that and so on. But how would you be utilizing that, Chief?
I actually had asked Tracy and Angie about this, like, when are you guys looking for a new one? Because we're starting to have issues with ours. And last time we had gotten a used one from them, it worked for a couple of years for us, and then finally broke down and we disposed of it. But there's not a trade-in value really on these because it's hard to find parts after they age for a while. But we're not using it as much as the clerk's office, or in the same way the clerk's office is. So this machine would be just fine for us to get rather than us buying a new one. So so then she started looking into it and realized that one was 7 years old, and so she proposed to buy a new one here, and then we would take theirs at the PD.
As well as some consolidation in the office. We have like 3 different printers over there doing 3 different things. This printer will be able to do all of those, so we won't have to go to this printer for color, or this printer for legal. So this new one will be able to take care of all of that and improve our dynamics in the office.
And this one will also be Wi-Fi compatible, so that it would be able to print. I know that's becoming a big thing. And by the way, yeah, it was actually 8 years ago, and then it was discontinued as far as this type was 7 years ago. So it's been 8 years since we had done this. Any questions?
So the maintenance and service plan says $60 per quarter. That includes 4,400 black, white, and 191 color. And we don't use much for color right now. That won't be an issue as far as it's almost dying every color sheet after that. That's every 3 months.
Yeah, we shouldn't have an issue
Shouldn't have an issue.
with that, no. The fire department has pretty much this exact same machine up there, and they haven't had any issues. We don't do as much color as you think, but it's nice to do a little letterhead and color once in a while.
And usually when they're quoting these, they know from the last one what they were already printing, and usually they don't set you up to fail.
Yeah, the numbers obviously on how many this was going through on average. Sounds good.
So, and also I believe this is one with Wi-Fi, so E.O. Johnson can hook into it and actually keep track, and then when it's time for supplies, they know when to do. I know we have one of those at our office that works that way.
Did it not need fax capabilities? I don't see that on there. Do you guys not use fax?
No, we don't use fax hardly at all.
That's becoming a non-issue.
It is, unless you deal with anything medical, then you usually have to fax still, so.
Cool.
But we have another machine to fax, or
We have a fax machine,
yeah, but just for that, if we had needed it for that purpose.
Make a motion, we approve the quote for $3,895 for the new fax machine for E.O. Johnson, or new copy machine for E.O. Johnson.
Second.
Leanne, so for a second. So we do have a motion and a second. And it is interesting, I know that this machine has some more capabilities, but we're purchasing it basically from 8 years ago, the same price for what we paid 8 years ago for the machine. It's about the same.
That's what I was surprised about.
Yeah, it was $3,800 and this is $3,895. Okay, any more questions on this? If not, this is a purchase that's sort of off the budget. I mean, we're taking budgeted money to pay for it, but, so I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Raisler,
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple,
Yes.
6-0, Mayor.
Okay. Motion's agreed to. Next, we have discussion and possible action regarding a certified survey map for the property on Oss Street. The way I understand this is the property across from Caddy Woodlawn Elementary that we sold to a private party. Within that, the certified survey map, which we had done, did not get filed, correct?
Correct, yeah, they didn't get properly recorded with the county, and you only have 12 months after you guys approve a certified survey map to get it properly recorded. So, with that being said, we have to come back here tonight, reapprove, the survey map. If it is approved, the mayor will sign it tonight and we'll get it recorded ASAP.
Yeah. So basically, we're approving the same thing we did how many months ago when we sold the property. This just is officially, so it's within the time period, and we'll get it, and that's the reason for it. It's just to, quote unquote, catch back up from something that didn't get done.
Make a motion, we update or approve the new certified survey map.
Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a motion and second to approve the certified survey map on Oss Street. And again, just a reminder, especially for new council members, what we did was, we basically had 2 lots there. What we did was, we took the 2 lots and divided one of them. We maintained 50 feet because of, and Matt can probably explain this better, because of the water tower.
Yeah, we have an overflow on the water tower that comes down through there, so we kept 50 feet through there. Our property for the water tower is behind that property, so we kept a 50-foot wide path there for any type of drainage ditch or storm sewer or anything that we may need to put in there in the future.
So instead of trying, and then what we did was we created one larger lot that was 150 by 150, right?
Correct.
And so that's what we're doing. And again, we sold that lot to Herb Schneider, purchased that lot from the city. Are there any more questions? Again, the motion is to approve the certified survey map. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Raisler,
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker,
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple,
Yes.
6-0, Mayor.
Okay, motion's agreed to. Next, we have public safety, Police Department, Chief Ridgway.
We had a little scare with our day squad. It's one of our newer squad cars. It's got about 12,000 miles on it. Last weekend, Sergeant Shellhorn was driving it, and temperature gauge spiked, and check engine light came on. Engine started shaking a little bit, and he was up by the cemetery by my place, and so we drove it over, and we took a look at everything. We checked whatever we could check to see what was going wrong. Couldn't figure anything out. We played it safe. I knew it was under warranty. Didn't want to drive it anywhere else, so we called Pulsers, and they towed it up to Northtown Ford. They found, on Friday, they found a sensor, a temp sensor that the wire had frayed and broke, and so it was causing a malfunction with our temp gauge. So thankfully, nothing wrong with the engine. They replaced the sensor, and we got it back in service. It was out of service for about a week while they were waiting to diagnose it and get it back to us. But thankfully, nothing major, and we'll just have a tow bill out of it, unfortunately. And I'll see, I don't know under warranty if they'll cover for a certain distance or not. I guess I'll find out when I get the tow bill, what Ford will do under a warranty issue like that. Community wellness event, we held that on Tuesday last week, and unfortunately, it wasn't a great turnout. We don't know when we should plan this. Everybody's kind of putting their heads together, figuring out when to plan it. It was really a great event. We had great reviews from the parents that were there, and some school staff members that were there. Great review on the internet safety that Sergeant Rudd and Officer Bonner have put on, and Human Services was there. We had really a great event. It just unfortunately was not attended very well. So we're going to work on it and figure out maybe a better time to have that event, and we'll probably try to do almost exactly the same thing we did. You know, thank a lot of organizations that put the time in to do that. The state came in with a fraud and scam speech. He drove all the way from Madison, and we had a few people come through his presentation, unfortunately. So trying to reach out, give our community the education to hopefully avoid being scammed or avoid their children getting in trouble with new apps that are out there, and hopefully we can get a better turnout of our community the next time we host it. And yeah, we'll try to figure out a better date, see what works. So, school, as the mayor said, school starts tomorrow. I think Matt and his staff, they worked hard to get those lines in at 7th Avenue and the crosswalks up there. That looks great. So I'm looking forward to seeing that kind of improved traffic flow up there. Again, Bobby Jo is our school crossing guard, so she'll be up there tomorrow morning. I'm gonna be up there as well, monitoring traffic. And yeah, just hopefully everybody drives safe through that school zone and watches their speed, along with the school zone up by Caddy as well. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for the police department? None? Fire department, Matt, was there anything else? Of course, Jamie reported at the last meeting for the monthly. Anything else to report for fire department?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. How's the training going for the ladder truck?
Great. CVTC was in town here a couple weeks ago for 2 nights, doing some ladder training, well attended by the department. We had the sales rep in town last week, kind of going over the chassis. The 4th and the 5th of September, the trainer from Pierce will be here, training on the ladder, and members are continuing to drive it and work around it. And I think the goal is to get it in service. I believe at the meeting the other night, they talked about a push-in ceremony. The chief will get some stuff out via Facebook and on Sunday, the 22nd. Is that a Sunday? Am I reading that right? Yeah, Sunday the 22nd. So there'll probably be some more information coming out on that ceremony. So I'll let him announce all that. But yeah, everything's coming along well.
Has it all been retrofitted and?
For the most part, yep. Yeah, it comes custom. Everything comes custom. We basically measure every inch of that truck and order everything, all of the cabinets exactly the way you want them, how you want them formatted, all the hose beds where you want them, how you want them formatted, where everything goes. You custom build that truck. So
Okay.
it's just a matter of getting all of our equipment on the truck that we ordered on the side, and then getting trained on it.
Is it a big training, like a big reach, you think, or not?
A big reach.
As far as, is it
Oh, the goal.
so much
Yeah.
different from what?
No, I
you-
think we'll be. I don't think we should have any issue, being in service there by the 22nd. So
Cool. That sounds
we're
good.
we're starting out with just a handful of guys that are going to kind of operate the truck. The truck's a lot longer than any of our other engines that we have, so the turning radiuses are a little bit longer. So we're just kind of working on probably like 10 people at the time, but don't quote me on that number. Jamie's got that list. Trying to get them really kind of honed in on it. And then we're not really going to let anybody else operate it until those 10 get honed in on it, and then we'll start another group of 5 or 6 and then get them honed in on it. So it's a extremely delicate piece of equipment that is very top heavy. Turning radius is very different, so it's just can't really throw anyone behind the wheel. So
Mhm.
Is there any different requirements, like CDL wise, for that one versus the other ones?
no, fire trucks are all exempt from
Okay.
CDLs.
And of course, the push-in ceremony goes back to the horse and buggy days, when there were obviously no reverse on that, and they had to push it in. So it's our tradition, when you get a new rig, correct, put in service, that you push it
I
in.
think I'm gonna bring my football helmet and pads if I'm pushing the 60.
So the push-in ceremony is a traditional thing that goes back a long way. Okay, thank you, Matt, for that. Doing that. So ambulance, I see that neither one of the directors are here, and again, were here at the last meeting. Next, we move on to Public Works Utilities. Engineers report, Russ.
Yes, few items, pool update, Matt will cover that under his report, but construction continues to go well on the pool. Brand Builders and their subs are doing a good job. Sixth Avenue East, update. You have pay request number 3 further down, number 4 on your agenda. But we are working on completing the review and preparing a final as-built quantities, so we can do a final pay request at one of your next meetings. So we'll just need to review the quantities with contractor next level and Matt and get that all in order. Don't expect any surprises, so what you see on page 2 of the pay request is going to be pretty close to final with some adjustments. City crew completed the straight pavement markings for the crosswalks on 6th Ave East, so that was just the remaining item. So project basis is complete. Water filter plant, we expect to hear from Wisconsin DNR with regards to our safe drinking water loan program application. Probably the end of September, beginning of October, we'll hear about that funding assistance program. And that's all I have. Anyone has any questions?
After the last meeting, when you would report on the on Madison Street project, and I know what you're talking about now, you're gonna sit down with staff, we're gonna try to come up, we got a schedule on when you're gonna meet, or have you already started talking? Do we need to get a public works committee, I mean, I'm not talking about tomorrow, but sometime in the next month or so?
Tracy and I discussed it last week. We would like to get through the budget process over the next month and a half, 2 months here, and then probably revisit it starting in November, after we pass the budget. There's absolutely no way we're gonna be doing any project in 2025, with the funding of the pool, getting the pool done, kind of figuring out how that financially is gonna lay out. So, we'd like to basically get through the budget process, and then we'll maybe have some public works meetings in, I would say, November, December, and start planning that process, and seeing what we're gonna do moving forward with that. That's what her and I's plan is anyway.
And one of the other things too is that I did meet with Matt and City Administrator Monday, also to talk about the 2 sort of lines of credit we have with Security Financial. One specifically for the pool, but the other one obviously to cover this project, just to make sure we all know where we're at with that. And again, it's all been approved, it's just, but again, some timing to make sure that we've got our numbers added up, especially with 6th Avenue now being complete, or close to, complete, physically complete, but to finish off the rest of the pay request, just to make sure at this point there's no action. But again, as I said, obviously to keep track of those things, and we did meet on that on Monday to make sure we're got everything sort of under control and to do that. So I did that. Any other questions for the city engineer?
Are you gonna be able to run that as a big hot tub over the winter?
I wish.
Okay, nothing else. Thanks, Russ. Next, we move on to Public Works Utilities monthly report. Matt?
Yeah, a couple things. We're also working on the water rate case for the water filter. We're reaching out to Ellers for some help on that. So you'll have some incoming information on that in the next couple meetings as well. The pool's moving along. The 5-foot deep area, they poured the concrete on the deep end about a week and a half ago. The 5-foot area was all poured this morning. We're gonna start forming the deep end walls probably maybe tomorrow through next week. Maybe late next week a wall pour, if not the following Monday we'll be pouring that. So they're moving along well on the pool. The building, we had to pour some concrete in a couple of the rooms so that we could get the filter was installed or placed in the building today, not fully installed. We have some chemical tanks that all have to get placed in that building before we can put those in, start working on those end walls. So it's kind of a unique build. One trade has to do just one little piece here, so the next trade can do this little piece, and then the next trade can do this little piece. So things are kind of piecing together and coming together. So Hopefully, we can make up some time here. We are looking from Global on Tuesday at our meeting to get a better time frame or timetable schedule for us here. So hopefully by next Tuesday's meeting, I'll have a better timetable as the pool. We're gonna work as late as we possibly can into the fall and fire up as early as we possibly can in the spring.
Remember, the contract basically says to have this completed by the end of May.
Correct. The contract basically says, I believe it's like the 25th of May, don't quote me on the exact date. Again, the only bad part about that is we have to allow for rain days and we have to allow for things that the contractor was not negligent on in the permitting process and stuff. So there'll be quite a few days before we could do any mandatory damages or anything like that after the fact.
So everybody pray for a good warm fall. Okay, so.
We're still running about 7 to 8 weeks behind, roughly,
From our original schedule.
from our original
I'll
schedule.
know a little bit more when I see the new schedule that I'm hoping to have next Tuesday.
Sounds good.
As we said, hopefully we can, every effort's being made to try to catch back up wherever we can. And today I drove by and saw some of those big tanks going in. It's good to see. And by the way, just one other thing on that, obviously we have a very large pay request of over $500,000 from Durand Builders. And we spoke with the pool, that money's in the pool's group's account, and we'll transfer that as soon as we go ahead and approve that, and we'll get that money transferred over to the city.
A couple other things, the county reached out to me last week. The state has apparently some extra funds that they need to use up, and they are going to be chip sealing Prospect Street from essentially the stoplights to where the road construction ended down there. They are only doing a 12-foot wide path, 12 feet each side of the center line, which is technically that zone that they consider themselves to maintain. So they'll be doing that next Thursday, the 5th. So you'll see loose gravel signs starting to go up, road construction signs starting to go up. And then we will be monitoring traffic and sweeping and getting that, putting manhole covers out. And we will be assisting them in that process next Thursday. Other than that, some other projects. These guys already touched on the painting, so I won't beat that horse again. We'll be working on spray patching. We have some blacktop patches that we got prices on for fixing up here in the next month or so. So plenty of work for the guys coming up here in the next month. Unless you have any questions, I got the rest of my stuff down below.
Is the chip sealing, they do that one day?
No, it's usually like a 3 or 4 day process. Oh, are you talking Highway 10 or
the
spray patch?
the county- no, the
County,
county
they'll,
one.
they'll do that one day, correct, yeah. That'll probably take them a half day to do that.
So they're doing technically what they consider the drive lane, because we're responsible for the parking.
Correct. They called me about 3 weeks ago and asked me if I wanted to participate, and I said there's no way I could find the funding to participate in that project with this short notice. So they're just gonna be doing their 12-foot drive lane.
Any questions for Public Works and Utilities? Hearing none. Next, we move on to discussion of possible action regarding an intermunicipal agreement between the City of Durand and the Arkansas Sanitary District for the extension of wastewater treatment services. As we did at the last meeting, we just handed out the agreement that has been put together. If anybody doesn't have a copy, Matt printed out a few more.
I don't have.
We got it before the last meeting, so we had it during the last meeting.
We had it, but if anybody didn't bring a copy, I just got it. Yeah.
One more.
You want to share it?
Okay.
You got your copy?
So basically, we're in a situation where you have the Arkansas Sanitary District, which has about 110?
Yeah, about 110, 120 users.
And they need to find a different way to get rid of their wastewater. And so that it's actually more cost effective for them. And Russ, I think a lot of communities are starting to do this now, is it's better to pipe it over someplace else who has a sewer plant that can handle it. So that's where we're at. And basically tonight is, if we approve the agreement, they need to get this agreement in hand so they can officially go through and get their application finalized and in. Correct, Matt, if you want to explain that?
Yeah, just kind of starting at the beginning. So Arkansas is getting hit hard with a phosphorus limit. So between 2026 and by 2029, starting in 2026, they have to progressively meet a new phosphorus limit. By 2029, their new phosphorus limit is supposed to be 0.075. So this process started. They're in the information phase right now of how to achieve that goal. So they come up with basically five options. One, do nothing, which really isn't an option, but we always label it as an option. 2 would be seepage cells. 3 would be 2 different kind of filtration processes. 3 and 4 were 2 different kind of filtration processes. And then option 5 is a regionalization with all wastewater treatment with the city of Durand. Cost effectively, we were the second best cost option. The best cost option, if you're just talking about upfront dollars, was the seepage cells. But seepage cells require a lot of maintenance, and then you require high nitrate issues, and you require more regulation after you install the seepage cells. So long term, they are not cost effective. So basically, the best cost, long term and upfront cost option is to regionalize with the city of Durand. So CBS Squared is their engineer. Both of them approached me about hooking up to the city of Durand, which we didn't really have any issue with. Arkansas on average is right around 10,000 gallons of sewage a day. They've had up to, in their last 4 years, a daily spike of 25,000 gallons in one day. But their average hangs around 10,000 gallons a day. So that is basically, in our system, we are certified for or permitted for 860,000 gallons a day. Currently, we average about 350,000. So that extra 10, even 25,000 at their peak moments will not affect anything in our collection system nor our wastewater treatment plant. So working with Arkansas, the best option would be to run a force main. They'd have where their pond system currently is on County O, right? That's O, right?
Yeah.
Right on County Road O. They would basically put a new lift station in there. They would follow the county road right away, basically down to the Kirchner property, which is just across the river from like the Senior Citizen Center down here. And then they will bore under the river and pop it up right at 7th Avenue West. That's the best place to attach to our system because it's gravity down here. They can't pop it up any closer to the wastewater treatment plant, number one. The city owns the land all the way to the river, so it's easy for them to pop up on city land than to try and get a private easement. And we have our own force main essentially from 8th West all the way down to the sewer plant, so there's nowhere to tie on to down there. So that's where it's best to tie on to the city. So we are going to basically be treating Arkansas just like any other resident or business or industry that would come to Durand. They're basically going to own the pipe from their facility to the connection of the city of Durand. They're paying for all of the construction of this pipe because it's a private pipe owned by them. Just want to touch on a couple of my, pull up my memo here, bear with me.
How big is the line that they run?
That is yet to be determined. In the calculations, the cost estimates are at 8-inch. But once we actually get into the design phase, that'll determine if it's 8-inch or 6-inch or potentially 4-inch.
Okay, so they bore under the river?
They bore up, the whole project is a trenchless bore. So they'll start at the lift station and they'll basically trenchless bore this pipe all the way along the road right away under County Road P and all the way under the river and pop it right up in the city of Durand. Yeah, so the agreement, no cost to the city in this whole project other than our attorney fees, my time and easement review that Cedar Corp will do for us. Through the intermunicipal agreement, Arkansas will have to adopt Durand's sewer use ordinances, which then just basically protects our system. It allows them, as well as allows us through them to make sure that the property owners are following the rules and regulations associated with the Durand sewer use ordinance, you know, making sure they're not dumping anything illegal, chemicals, touches on fats, oils, and greases, things like that. So they will be adopting our sewer use ordinances. We will be monthly billing. On this side of the river, they'll be constructing like a building, little station, little metering station on this side of the river. We'll have a meter in there and a sampling port in there so that we can sample what they're sending us, so we know their concentrations into the plant. That'll be on this side of the river. As well as in the agreement, you'll see that we designated them essentially, the attorneys wanted us to designate them a capacity. So we designated them essentially 7% of our 860,000, which is roughly, they could go up to about 70,000 gallons a day before we would have to sit down and essentially renegotiate a contract with them.
And the biggest ever for them was 25,000.
Yeah, and their highest they've ever been is 25,000. I feel comfortable giving them the 7% up to 70,000 gallons a day. It allows a little growth in their community as well. Also, you'll see in there, if they grow anything outside of their current district, all of that review has to be done by us. So we will be reviewing any sanitary sewer extensions, we will be reviewing any connections just to make sure that the connections are good and the consumer and the product that they're flushing down into the system meets our ordinances. So any expansions will go through us as well. Fees and rates are the exact same as what we're charging our customers. There's no special billing. We can't raise their rates and keep ours the same. Everything is essentially, if our rates go up for them, our rates go up for our customers, that's how we treat every customer that's attached to our system.
And we have a built-in 3% increase each year.
Our ordinances in the city's built in a 3% every year.
Wow. So is there, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone currently right now in the city is delinquent on anything, it goes to the property taxes? Is that correct?
Correct.
So do we have any authority, since they don't technically pay taxes to the city of Durand, if someone is late or not paying a bill over there, does anything protect us that way?
So we would just be billing the sanitary district. So we send the bill directly to the sanitary district. The sanitary district collects from their users on their user rate, and they have the ability to put the charges on their tax rates as the sanitary district. If the sanitary district decides not to pay the city of Durand, we shut them off. Just go in that metering station.
And that's right in the, and that's right.
So we're not billing each individual?
No, we are not
Gotcha.
billing each individual homeowner.
Okay.
Alls we will be billing is the Arkansas Sanitary District on a monthly basis.
We get one lump check.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that was a question that people asked at the public hearing too. No, the billing, we bill the sanitary district, the sanitary district pays us, and then the sanitary district collects from their customers. And then it's built into the agreement that if they're delinquent, we shut the valve off until they're paid up, and then they have the same delinquent fees as the rest of our users do at 3%.
What happens when you turn it off?
You pay your bill real quick, sewage starts backing up into your basement.
Is there concern about the difficulty of boring underneath the AAA?
No, not on my end anyway.
It's pretty common.
That's pretty common.
Yeah,
They bore under
They'll
rivers
go under
all the time.
rivers and for miles now with that technology.
DNR's okay with that, but you can't move a rock out of it, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good concept.
Well, anytime we run into environmental areas or wetlands, that's the easiest way to get your permit is the directional bore under it instead of an open, doing anything on the surface.
And it's their line, so hypothetically, 10 years from now, it bursts in the middle, it's all on
Yeah.
them.
It's all on them,
We
yeah.
just cut ours off.
And it's happened in Eau Claire a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Something hit one of their, that's when they would put the lines right on the bottom of the river. Something
Yeah, now they-
snagged one of their lines and there was raw sewage going into the river for many months before they knew.
Now they have rules and regulations, you gotta be so far under the,
Yeah.
under the bed of the river, so.
How
things
deep
like
is
don't
that, do you know
happen.
off the top of your head?
How deep will
Under,
the,
underneath the.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Just curious
I
about
will
that.
find out through the design. So the design hasn't started, officially, the design hasn't started, they're still in the, public hearing phase and the deciding phase of what they wanna do. The reason why we have to do this is in order to apply for funding, Clean Water Fund, they require an actual agreement with us. Regionalization is a very, high-funded project. So the state's always looking for treatment plants to regionalize and everything, to kind of go to one central location. So the funding level and the principal forgiveness could be pretty good for them. But in order to apply for that, this agreement has to be in place so that basically they believe that the city of Durand is on board with this regionalization.
So if they don't get the grant, this is obsolete at this point in time. Correct.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's obsolete. If they don't get the grant, they're just gonna be, I mean, at the end of the day, they gotta do one of these 5 options. They don't have a choice. So, I mean, this is the best viable option. So if they don't get the grant, they're probably still coming over here. They're just gonna be paying out of pocket more than
The rates would go up
Their rates
Would it
their
really
rates would go up
substantially? That's what I'm saying, financially, I don't know how feasible it would be for them at that point.
Again, that's their decision, though, so.
So when they go under the river, is that one tube, just the sewage tube, or is there like a bigger casing that goes through?
To my knowledge, it's just one tube
Is
that
it?
that the wastewater goes through.
Okay.
It's
So they'll bore under the river at their depth, they'll pop it up on whichever side they decide to start on. They'll pop it up on the opposite side, they'll tie on to the pipe, and then they'll basically pull that pipe back through, then they'll fuse more pipe onto it, and they'll pull the next 20-foot chunk through, fuse more pipe together, and then just keep pulling it.
Does GPS control all that now?
Yeah, oh yeah, they have
GPS,
GPS
yeah.
control to make sure they stay at the right depth below the river.
Those
They
drilling
have to
rigs,
track it
yeah,
and
there'll be a boat
report
going
that.
across monitoring on the surface how deep the
Right.
drilling rig is, where the drilling rig is. They'll be in constant communication back and forth, up, down at this angle, left, right at this angle.
So you said fuse it together, so technically there's joints under there that could fail? It's not like it's 100.
It's called a
Yeah.
solid weld joint, so
Solid
it's
weld joint.
pretty much a continuous pipe based on how they assemble it and pull it through. So
Is
there's
it-
no joints underneath once they're all said and done.
Is it like end to end, butt splice is what I would call it, or is it like one piece fit over the other piece?
It's kind of a, yeah, it's a butt end.
The butt end, and then it's basically welded and
Solvent
fused,
weld.
welded together.
Okay.
Usually a high density plastic type pipe that they use.
Is it metered or open, so you know if you got a leak?
Nope, it's only metered at our end. If they choose to put a meter on their end, that's up to them. The meter is on our end before it, the billing meter, the only meter I essentially need or am worried about is right before it dumps into our system.
Is the DNR,
Easy way to catch a leak would be.
Yeah,
Is it-
that would be up to them.
is the DNR planning to do any special type of testing as this is being built? Like any extra testing, like water testing, water quality testing?
The DNR does do no testing, so the DNR would require the city or the sanitary district to do testing, but there is no special testing, water quality testing for these types of projects.
The pipe will actually have what they call a pressure leakage test, where after it's
Yes.
done being constructed, they'll have to fill it up and pressurize it, typically to
Basically,
150 PSI.
basically
And
the
then
same
they'll-
thing we do for a water main.
Yeah.
They lay it in the ground, they fill it with water, and then they pump it up to, 150 PSI, and it has to hold that for a certain amount of hours of time. That's how you test it for leakage.
That
And that'd be
pretty
the
much
whole
tells-
pipe from point A to point B, not just under the river.
And then that guarantees to the DNR that, yeah, once they put the sewage through and pass the pressure and leakage test, then there won't be any leakage through it, so.
Is Arkansas planning or hoping to have any kind of housing expansion if they do this?
I have talked to them about the potentially, having some expansion, and the room for expansion. Cost comes into it and where to expand. So we are in constant talks about potentially, I've informed them that there's interest from lots of parties that potentially want to use that to expand to certain parts of the county and regionalize, which would only bring them more income to get their user rates down. So they're aware of that. Whether they have any plans to proceed with that, you'd have to discuss that.
This will be used by some of the businesses, correct?
Only the ones in Arkansas, so you got a couple taverns, basically about it.
But if somebody did expand, because they can only go to a certain map that's already approved.
10%. Oh, yeah, that's what I was-
Oh, I'm just saying that they would have to go to the DNR to expand their footprint.
The sanitary district.
The sanitary
Sanitary
district.
district would just have to expand their district footprint. And then if they were gonna say, let's just say they were gonna put a pipe up over here to Tractor Central, for example. Yeah, they would have to apply for permits to get that pipe up there. The project would have to be approved by, all sanitary projects have to get ran through the DNR and be approved. That project would also have to be ran through us, and we would have to approve it and look at it, cause it's an extension to their current boundaries.
So any expansion, if it was a small subdivision, that would come as an expense either to the developer, home builder, or the sanitary district, or both of them. Cause they'd have to extend gravity sewer service, additional homes within the district, or else, another pump station and force main, or a low pressure sewer and force main for each housing unit, so comes as an expense. It'll all depend on how it pencils out for a developer and home builder and the sanitary district, and whether they could afford.
No different
To
than
expand.
when we expand, contractors or homeowners usually pay for that in the long run, and the expansion is done based on who's gonna finance it. But there will hopefully be an opportunity for expansion. Nobody right now can guarantee you that that'll happen, or will guarantee you that that will happen at this point.
But their pipe can take some expansion.
We will work on the design of, I will work with them to try and design that, but again, I can't guarantee that because they're the ones putting the bill. So I can't demand them to spend more money to expand, they're the ones putting the bill. So I can, tell them that it would be nice to, hey, if the engineering says we should put a 6-inch in, can a 6-inch pipe, what can a 6-inch pipe flow? So let's say a 6-inch pipe can flow up to 50,000 gallons a day, and right now they're only flowing 10 to a maximum of 25. Well, there's a 40 to 25,000 gallon per day increase in expansion right there. That can happen without anything. Well, what's the cost to go to an 8-inch pipe? Now they can hold 100,000 gallons a day. Those will be conversations that I'll have with them. But at the end of the day, that's their decision if they want to build this just for their current, or if they want to build it for expansion.
And you're talking about, in your opinion, that you're gonna limit, or you're thinking 70,000 gallons a day is gonna be the most that they're gonna be able to use?
The way it's written in the contract, right now, we are allowing them 70,000 gallons a day.
And the highest ever was 25, and they typically run 10.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have wrote into the contract, or I have wrote into the contract, plenty of expansion for them in this contract. So we shouldn't have to revisit this contract for a long time. I mean, we gotta revisit it every so many years based in the contract, just to,
Review it.
just to renew it, but we shouldn't have to change anything for a while.
I can't remember, so if we need a major renovation at the waste plant, do we build them up to 7 or do you raise the rates?
We raise the rates, we would just raise the rates and then they will pay the same rate that our customers are paying. So let's say we did $1 million project and our rates need to go up 10%. Everyone in the city's rates is going up 10%, so then their rates would go up 10%. So their rate would not change any more than what our current customers' rates would change.
But there's benefit to us to have more people to raise.
Yeah, so the more that we can, the more that you can expand, the bigger that you can get, the more money that you can bring in will keep those rates down.
And your question on the pipe size and the design, that'll be kind of a balancing act that their engineer will be doing with the sanitary district, because again, it all comes down to cost. Every 2-inch increase in your pipe size when you're running a force main, that many miles can add a significant to your cost. And then do you have enough existing flow or future flows to fill up that pipe and pressurize it to pump it and so forth? So there's a balancing act there where it doesn't become feasible to go too far predicting your growth just because of cost and other things involved with your pipe size and your design.
And so,
If you're putting in, say, an 8-inch pipe for the future, that changes your pump size.
Yeah,
So
your
it
pump,
changes the size of your lift station.
your
So
energy,
it's not just we're gonna
all
put
that.
an 8-inch pipe in so that we can do it in the
Right.
future. You also have to upsize the lift station. You also have to upsize the pump.
Right.
So at some point in time, it will not be cost effective to build for too far into the future or too much of the future.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Are you guys the one doing their engineering?
No. CBS squared is their engineer.
In some of those cases, especially when you have such a small initial flow and you're not in a real high growth area, sometimes it'll be more feasible to put a smaller 4-inch or 6-inch force main in. If you grow, come and put another one side by side. Those are some of the games you'll play with that force main, like Matt says, pumps and lift stations and things like that. You're better off waiting to see if the growth happens and you have more customers to help pay for those upgrades.
and so the typical pipe length is 20 feet, every 20 feet there's a splice?
Typically in road construction, our pipe lengths come in 20 feet. I don't know if they can, I personally have never done a trenchless bore this long, so I don't know if they can special order it in different pipe sizes or not, to be flat out honest with you. I
Okay.
can't give you a concrete answer on that question. Maybe Russ can, but I can't.
We've done smaller bores and so forth. I forget what they can bring on, a semi truck. Sometimes it might be 50 or 100 feet of pipe. Whatever can fit on a semi pipe in one length, that can come from the plant, and then they'll solve it, weld it in the field as they bore it and pull it back through the borehole.
So once construction starts, how long would it take to do the boring?
I don't know how many
It would be a
miles.
summer project, so
Yeah,
it'd be
long.
a May to October project. Say that they'll run the project time frame same as we run a construction project to make sure they got enough time and everything's worked in there properly. So it'll be a May 1st, probably October 1st project. Not saying
You
it'd
can
take
go
them
several hundred feet a day. A lot of that'll depend on your soil conditions. Sometimes you'll hit boulders in your bore, and then you'll have to back off and adjust things to miss boulders or rock or something like that too. It all depends on what the soil conditions are. If they're boring through good material, you can go faster. If you're boring through rock or cobbles, then it's a much slower process, so.
Are they able to survey for that before they get started? 'Cause
Oh, yeah, they'll have a survey. They'll survey everything as part of their design and doing soil borings.
It'd be no different than our road construction.
Yeah.
They'll be out there topoing, surveying,
The boring contractors will need all that information to put the correct bid price on it, because your bid price could be totally different if it's rock or cobbles or sand or clay and so forth. The price varies depending on the soil conditions, so they'll survey that whole line in terms of a survey for the design, and then they'll have so many soil borings every so many 100 feet as part of the bidding documents, so there's no surprises during construction.
Do you might have any more questions on like the contract? Cause good conversation, but none of that's part of that.
Well, just but one other question on, the only time we get high capacity is during flood time.
Correct.
But yet they still only, you said the max was 25,000 gallons a day. At any one point, they don't have a spike at flood time like we do?
No.
And the reason is because we got a bigger system that just has other places where water gets in. And that-
All of their system's not in the floodplain, so their lift station, everything's far enough out County Road, they don't have anything to do with the floodplain. Our spikes are solely because our system is basically in the
basically
riverbed when it floods.
They don't have high groundwater, they're higher up in elevation, so they don't have the groundwater for the inflow and infiltration.
Oh, yeah, that's, okay,
In
so
their
that doesn't have
existing
that, okay.
system.
Is sewerage a word? Sewerage?
Yeah, that's what we, when we meter, we call it sewerage.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve the intermunicipal agreement between the city of Durand and the Arkansas Sanitary District for the extension of wastewater treatment services.
Second.
We have a motion second, it's still on the floor for any other questions? And once they get into their process to get their grant, we'll just keep everybody updated on where we're at.
Correct, you bet.
Okay. Again, any other questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Hooker,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck,
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Yes.
6-0 mayor.
Motion's passed. Next, we have discussion possible action regarding pay request number 3 from Next Level Excavation LLC in the amount of $29,062.04. Russ?
Yes, this is number 3. We're real close to be submitting final for one of your next meetings. You can see the original contract, the change order, the total, and then the total with the change order for the contract bid is $198,440.82. We're at $188,497.82. So just some minor quantities to add in. If you look on page 2 on the very right-hand side, you can see where some of the items in the pay request are at 100%. A couple of the asphalt paving items are at 98.3%. And then topsoil turf erosion mats at 84. So they're just some of the final quantities that we need to confirm with the contractor. And there's also some concrete flat work that we need to work with Matt and the contractor in terms of what was worked out between the school districts. So
Just a basic, to add on to that, the final pay request, we were going to pay for some asphalt up to about $12,000 or $13,000 on 7th West for the school. We decided to basically pay for the concrete on our project. So the final pay request will probably be an additional $12,000 over and above the contract price. But that was budgeted dollars that we had that we were gonna essentially pay the school. So what we did is we just did a construction swap where we paid for this $12,000 on our end with our contractor, and they paid essentially for the blacktop through their contractor. So you will, on the next pay request and the final pay request, see that there's an additional $12,000 and an additional probably 150% on the concrete side, but that is all budgeted for.
and it's still significantly less than the budget prior to bidding, because you did get really good bids from this contractor.
And one of the other things I had mentioned earlier about the city administrator, and Matt had talked about this, we were talking about the borrowing on the short term through, when we have it secured, the question is, when do we need the money to cover this? And then obviously when we need to make sure, because the idea was to put part of this onto the tax base, and then every year we would pay off so much, and then look at that next project, it might only be $100,000 or whatever it's gonna be. And so again, working obviously with Tracy being new to make sure she's on top of that concerning that. Anyway, would somebody like to make a motion concerning pay request number 3 from Next Level Excavation?
I'll make a motion to approve, pay request number 3 from Next Level Excavation LLC in the amount of $29,062.04.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the pay request. Any more questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple.
Yes.
6-0, Mayor.
Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding pay request number 4 from Durand Builders in the amount of $503.25.
Yeah, let me find my copy here. Well, yeah, pay request number 4 from Durand Builders. You can see the original contract sum plus our change orders for our new contract sum. Total completed to date is $1,053,962 less the retainage. Eligible amount for payment, $1,001,264 minus the previous pay request of $447. So they're eligible for $553,503.25. You can see on the next page, majority of this is specialties, which is the swimming pool. The start of the concrete, the new filters on site, some of the tanks are on site, some of the equipment and stuff for that pool site is on site, and the ongoing site work and building. Recommended by myself and our engineering staff to pay this request.
And as I mentioned, of course, in continuous contact with the swim club, this comes out of the donating money and will be transferred to the city as soon as we agree to the payment percentage.
I'd like a motion to approve payment number 4 to the Durand Builders in the amount of $553,503.25.
We have a motion second to approve the pay request from Durand Builders. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple.
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Yes.
6-0, Mayor.
Motion's agreed to. Next, let's pay the bills. Just to talk a little bit about upcoming meetings. The next regular council meeting will be on the 11th of September. Just to note, the finance committee will meet prior to that at 5:30. We have a couple of items to discuss, and that will be 5:30 before the 11th of You won't. You won't, look at you.
Yeah.
Young kids go and pick up sticks.
And
Yeah.
like the black balls and player and posting.
Yeah.
Oh, when they retire from. It's already in the account, then they transfer the money, that's when they write the checks. Yeah, so, yeah. No, our part of downtown's fine. Yeah, so, and by the way, I would assume my computer was off when I got to work. And the power gone out, because it always is, and and everything was up and still running when I got there. And I was first one to go about 6 AM, so.
Grade the gravel and our space. Yeah. Guardrail and stuff, yeah, we've been bidding for road work. They added a crew, a little crew.
I wanted to go underground.
Yeah. No,
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion concerning the vouchers?
Can make a motion to approve the vouchers?
Keep.
Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second? We have a motion and second to approve the vouchers. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck. Yes. Councilmember Raichler.
Yes.
6-0, Mayor.
Okay, vouchers are approved. As I said, next meeting on the 11th, the Finance Committee meeting prior at 5:30. Anything else, information announcements? Otherwise, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.